The Colosseum is actually a name that was given to an urban district where the ancient house of Nero used to sit until about the year 70 in the Common Era. Nero was an emperor in the 50s and 60s of the first century, and he had built a large palace on the grounds which now has the Colosseum building standing on it. But the Colossus, as such, was actually a statue. And so, in a way, when we call the Colosseum, what we're really referring to is the place where it sits. The Colossus, on the other hand, was a statue that rose about 150 feet tall. It was made in bronze and gold, filled with cement, and it was the sun god, with Nero's face depicted as the deity. This was a reviled statue. It was built in this location shortly after Rome had a catastrophic urban fire which took out almost all of its wooden architecture. And it's only in the 2nd century that Rome rebuilds itself using masonry architecture to avoid that kind of catastrophic destruction. But you may know the phrase, Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Well, fiddling may not literally been what he was doing while Rome was being destroyed by fire, but he was definitely thinking about his own luxury and comfort. And so he had this massive statue constructed, first of all, in his own honor, but also as the end of a series of urban modifications in which he created the royal household. Now, the statue itself, known as the Colossus, was not an original idea under Nero. The Colossus at Rhodes was built nearly 4 centuries earlier in Greece, and it was basically overseeing a port. So it was the ruler of Greece at that time, again depicted as the sun god, and it's Nero who is reimagining himself as a Greek deity. The statue itself, however, was only a small part of the massive complex known as the Domus Aurea. So the Colossus of Nero sat more or less where the Colosseum building is today, but the Domus Aurea occupied a great deal of the Oppian Hill, just to the south and a little bit west of where the Colosseum sits today. And you can see that it has within it a man-made lake, a massive portico, and clearly areas not just for the home of the royal family, but a kind of royal court. And this was an incredibly opulent residence, which was constructed at exactly the time that Rome needed public resources to be dedicated to the rebuilding of the city. And this is where the Flavian dynasty comes in. The Flavians were 3 emperors, beginning with the Emperor Vespasian from 69. His son, the Emperor Titus, takes over in 79, and then the younger son, Domitian, shortly after that. Their mission, in many ways, was to erase the legacy of Nero by building over a great portion of the Domus Aurea with not a new residence or building for the glory of the emperors, but one that was meant specifically to be a public amenity. And so the Colosseum is conceived as the very first imperially sponsored venue for combat games or blood sport. And we'll talk a little bit more now about the nature of that blood sport and why this seemed like a very good idea for the emperors at the time.